Welcome. Excuse me. Welcome to 5th grade Bible, Part A. And I'm going to get back in position behind the camera. This is, in a way, a makeup lesson for me. This is a lesson that I should have presented several grades ago, so forgive me for that. But better late than never. As you can see from the top title, this is a brief introduction to the books of the Old Testament. Remember, there are 39 books in the Old Testament, and they have traditionally been divided into groups. And so we're going to look at those various groups. The first group is the books of Moses. The first 5 books of the Bible are often called the books of Moses, under the understanding that they were written by Moses. Many people dispute that, and we're not going to give a big argument one way or the other in this lesson. Those 5 books go by some other names. The Pentateuch, meaning 5, referring to the 5 books, is one. Some people call these books the Torah. The Torah can mean a lot of different things, and so probably either Pentateuch or the 5 books of Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy are the books of Moses. The next group are often called the books of history. And that's a good description because they really do present the history of the Hebrew nation, beginning with Joshua and going into Judges, then 1st and 2nd Kings. And that completes that history. However, then there is a second set, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, which especially focuses on the southern kingdom and has a little bit different slant on the story from the 1st and 2nd Kings. So those 4 books cover the material to the time of the exile, when the Babylonians conquered the southern kingdom and took many people into exile. Then there is a return from exile, and that is detailed to some degree in the books of Ezra and Nehemiah. Ezra especially focuses on the return and the events after that. Nehemiah focuses more on the rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem. Then after that, there is the book of Esther, which is kind of a very unique book compared to the other books of history, but it tells the story, continues the story of the Hebrew people. That ends that history and actually doesn't carry us through the period up until the beginning of the New Testament. Of course, the Hebrew people were not particularly concerned about when or what the New Testament would be about, and so that's understandable. Now then, that is the material that covers the story. And really, of course, it begins in the books of Moses and carries on through the history books. Now then, after the history, there are some books that really don't fit any one particular category. They are traditionally called the books of poetry. I like to think of them as books of poetry and wisdom, because in some cases there is wisdom that is presented that is not poetic. So those books include, of course, the Psalms and the Proverbs and the Song of Solomon. The book of Job is included in that group because Job doesn't fit the historical books. In some ways, it is a book of poetry in the way it's written, and it's a book of wisdom in some of the material that it talks about. On the other hand, it is a story, the story of Job. And then we have the books, the Song of Songs, or the Song of Solomon, which is a kind of a romantic book. Many people have some other takes on that book, but it does talk about romantic love, and kind of an interesting thought that particular subject, which we somehow have a popular notion that the Bible doesn't talk about those things, but in fact it does talk very much about this in the Song of Solomon. Now, the last set of books are the prophets. And the prophets have a lot of history in them, and they also have a historical background. They are sort of based on the history of the nations, both the northern and southern kingdoms, um, but they are not necessarily uh, presenting a chronological material, uh, although there are some chronologies in those books. Um, they are the writings of what I call the writing prophets, and they uh, contain, as I said, some historical material. They also contain almost like sermons uh, that are uh, what we would call forthtelling, Forth, forthtelling. That is, the prophets are speaking through the written word to the people. And then they also contain foretelling, Fore, uh, in which the prophets are predicting events that will take place in the future. And that's what we usually think of a prophet. But the prophets both have these aspects of foretelling and foretelling. Now, the prophets are divided into two groups: the major prophets, which are five prophets, and one of them, excuse me, four prophets. One of them uh, includes a second book, the book of Lamentations. So we have Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, and Daniel. Excuse me. Yeah, those are four prophets and five books. I hope I got that right. And then there are the minor prophets. Now, this division really is based totally on the length of the books. So the minor prophets are shorter books than the major prophets, and in some cases, it's pretty close. uh, that is to say, the minor prophets, uh, in a few cases, have a fairly long books. Um, it's not a value judgment as to what's important and what's not important. The minor prophets contain information and contain statements and some of that forthtelling and foretelling that is every bit as important as the major prophets. Uh, Now, I am going to put overlays, text overlays on these various parts of the video to name specifically the books. In some cases, I didn't have any notes in front of me, so I knew I wasn't going to be able to name all those minor prophets, and I wasn't sure I was getting the poetry uh, group perfectly, and so I'll get it right as with the overlay. Um, okay, so that is the uh, whole 39 books of the Old Testament, and I'll be talking somewhat about some of this material uh, in the lessons that follow. Thank you. I appreciate some of you are put up with me, literally, and are very generous with your time and faithful in your watching these videos. Uh, sometimes I think you just do it to encourage me. I hope that they are helpful. I hope some of them give you some information that some of you, I realize, are scholars in compared to myself. You have spent many years reading the Bible, and so it's not news to you. But I hope that maybe some insights have been given to you. Some of you are new to the Bible, and I hope that these videos are helping you to get some orientation to the Bible. All right, thank you. I hope that you will watch the next video as it comes online.